My job is to push your powers to their fullest potential.
You could be the most powerful suit that Vought has ever seen.
Yeah, right. More powerful than Homelander.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This will be my full Gen V Season 2, Episode 1, 2, and Episode 3 video. There are a whole bunch of Easter eggs and references, crossover setting up The Boys Season 5. There's a lot of mention of Homelander, what he's doing right now in the government. Probably trying to think up new, even more perverted ways of drinking milk and milk products. Just like Gen V Season 1, there are a couple really big crossover characters and storylines. If you are brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the episodes. The Episode 1 title was New Year, New You, a reference to how Homelander has changed Godolkin University since the events of The Boys Season 4 ending, where he took over the government, installing the puppet president, and started just going after rounding up everybody he didn't like, superheroes and humans. Now it seems like he's changed Godolkin, and it's more of a training ground for his superhero army that he intends to use to take over the planet eventually, and that's also what Dean Cipher is doing, played by Hamish Linklater, who you probably recognize for a bunch of other stuff. He's actually fantastic as the new villain of this season. Kinda seems like he's meant to be a parody of Professor X, or like an evil version of Professor X, because they do have that in the Boys comics. Right before they actually started the opening scene, there was a memorial message for Chance Perdomo, who died in an accident before they started making Season 2. So what they did is they wrote his death into the show. Many characters reference it throughout, motivating a lot of their actions. So rather than recast the role, what they did is they just wrote his death into the show, and his character Andre was killed. And the way they're addressing that on a story level is through his father, Polarity, who accepted a job from Vought on the faculty for the school, and he's spending his time trying to uncover more secrets about how Cipher was connected to Andre's death. All because we start to learn more and more details connecting Cipher to all these different plot lines on the show, not just any one single storyline, to Marie, to Project Odessa, to Friedrich Vought, the person who founded Vought American and created Compound V. All the stuff that was happening at the prison, it seemed like he was doing some kind of research at the prison with superheroes that were there. They start the actual episode with a flashback to 1967 to Thomas Godolkin, who was the second in command to Friedrich Vought, his lead scientist basically, developing more formulations. As the name implies, he was also one of the founders of the school with Vought, also based on a comic book Boys character, but a slightly different spin on the character. There was a brief reference to Project Odessa during The Boys Season 4 inside the Vought lab, where they created and tested Homelander as a child as well. Real-world history buffs will remember Project Odessa was also the name of a real-life World War II Nazi underground escape plan helping SS officers make it to Argentina in South America. Just as he's rushing to the room trying to stop them, he sees them taking the serum, claiming that it's not ready, and he's definitely right. As they all start developing powers that are out of control, they wind up killing them. Fire powers, tentacles, melting from acid. So it's implied that Godolkin died in the fire, but there are a couple of details about Cipher's backstory that make it seem like he is connected to Godolkin, because his real name is Dr. Gold. So he is either the descendant of Thomas Godolkin, like his son or grandson, or he's really Thomas Godolkin himself, just in a different form. Just because he's also a researcher, he's been tied to all these different Vought projects going back many, many years, and you see him spouting off about the need for tradition during his big speeches.
The genius and foresight of Thomas Godolkin is evident in each and every one of you.
Later, Marie winds up finding out that she is Project Odessa. This whole project this room was dedicated to, seeming like they were trying to find a way to give people, like regular people, Compound V powers. But it seems like what happened is that Dr. Gold, or Cipher, at some point later, eventually refined the formulation and found a way to do this before conception, like turned it into a fertility clinic situation. Kind of making it sound like Dr. Gold or Cipher was trying to create something like the X gene in the Marvel comics, so that Marie was born with powers, like the same way that Homelander was born with powers, but in a slightly different way. Homelander was born with powers because he was conceived intravenously, and they just dosed the fetus with an incredible amount of traditional Compound V. It kind of sounds like Dr. Gold or Cipher did something a little bit different to try and do something similar with Marie Moreau. This is why he's so interested her in present day, getting her back to the school, like go out and find her, bring her here, and he's spending so much of his time dedicated to optimizing her powers, getting her to figure out how her powers really work, so that she can be even more powerful, more of a threat than Homelander. All because it seems like that's his grand plan. Like as a scientist for Vought on the DL, he was trying to find a way to create an even more powerful superhero. So it seems like what they're doing this season is giving Marie Moreau an Anakin Skywalker Star Wars Child of the Force storyline, where she's destined to be this great figure, but she's in danger of turning into a Darth Vader because it seems like Cipher is trying to twist her evil. Like he's the Emperor Palpatine in this scenario, trying to influence the birth of a very, very powerful Force being. So at least without seeing any of the other episodes, early theory now is that Dean Cipher really is Thomas Godolkin or his son or grandson, just carrying on their work. They actually start with a promo that his character does for the actual school, like a commercial that would air on TV or on social media, trying to get people to actually join. There's a lot of real-world, really crazy political rhetoric baked into his message, like the way that The Boys TV show does too. Like a lot of it's a little over the top too, like they really, really pack it in. They also use this to reference a lot of stuff that happened in previous seasons in The Boys Season 4, like the death of Ezekiel, Tech Knight. Vought still thinks that Queen Maeve is dead after what happened with Soldier Boy. That's why she's on here. She's still alive, though, out there. She could come back. R.I.P. Victoria Newman, though. She is super dead. What you notice, though, and they do this a couple times through the first couple episodes, is they tie a lot of this to conspiracy theories and use it as excuses to get rid of people they don't like. Like Homelander and Vought try to tie Victoria Newman's death to a deep state conspiracy theory orchestrated by President Robert Singer because they were trying to get rid of him to clear the path for Homelander's new president that he wanted to take office. Really, it was Butcher with his Compound V tumor that was out of control that killed her. They also use this as another opportunity to blame Starlight because that's Homelander and Vought's whole thing is just making her a scapegoat for a lot of their big problems right now. Homelander is using pretty much any excuse he can to round up superheroes and humans he doesn't like and stick them in Tech Knight's prisons. There's a reference to the new position in the government that Homelander had created, which basically allows him to do all this stuff legally, pretty much whatever he wants. Normally that wouldn't matter, like he's so powerful that nobody'd be able to stop him. But remember, this is all part of Sage's phase 2 of her master plan. Get the people to love him so they'll do a lot of the work for him and then sort of burn the place to the ground as he's taking over. So part of the idea is they keep hyping up that there's going to be this war between superheroes and regular humans. This is why this season at the school, it seems like they're treating humans like second-class citizens. You also notice now that there's Homelander propaganda all over the place. Pretty much any direction that your eye looks, in any scene while you're on campus, there's a Homelander poster staring at you.
Godolkin University is where you can join the fight.
We go to the Elmira Adult Rehabilitation Center, which is pretty much like the Vought version of the Raft in the MCU, where they keep superhero prisoners. All the kids since the end of Season 1 were kept here, with the exception of Marie, who they explained escaped, and they sort of tie this to the backstory about how Andre wound up dying. We find out that Kate arranged for Jordan and Emma to be let out as long as they toe the company line. They have to do whatever Vought wants them to do, say whatever they want them to say, which they use to create a lot of tension between them because Emma, the others, all hate Kate now, and leads to their big fight later in the season. My early assumption is that eventually they will start working together again. There are a couple things that happen in later episodes that stop Kate from using her powers against them, but it seems like right now, at least in the early episodes, they still really hate each other's guts. The way they wind up explaining how Andre died is the micro tears in his brain that they developed during Season 1. There was a storyline where he was hiding these brain injuries that he had from his friends. What they say is that he died trying to use his powers too much in an escape attempt. There are a couple new characters they introduced, like Stacey Ferrara here is a Vought person in charge of PR and student life, basically like a social media manager for all the kids, telling them what Homelander, the company, wants them to do and say. She's got bee powers, which are lethal. The other joke here is saying that she died too because some bees die after they sting you, and also she vomits honey randomly. There's a couple references to remind you about the Season 1 plot with the Woods, that lab underneath the school where they were creating the anti-Compound V weapon. Dean Cipher gives his opening term of address going full Magneto Brotherhood of Mutants, like very anti-human, anti-pre-administration too. When he says the phrase Brave New World, I don't think that was meant to be a direct reference to Captain America, Brave New World in the Marvel movies. When they say Cipher spent a couple years at the Vought Mexico City office, I think that's actually meant to be set up for the Boys Mexico spin-off series that they're all supposed to be working on with Diego Luna. I don't know who he's supposed to be playing, but they said that they're still working on that in the background. No idea when those episodes would premiere. We see Cipher in the dean's office mixing the weirdest concoction of smoothie, fried chicken, and milk with some peanut butter. Just a whole bunch of weird stuff going on here. There are a couple implications that if Kate tries to read his mind, her mind will be scrambled, implying he might also have more powerful psychic abilities. Maybe they are going full evil Professor X, because in the comics, there's actually a character based on Professor X in the X-Men. He's called John Godolkin, and it's the G-Men, not the X-Men, but they're all evil. There are also a lot of times where he seemingly references stuff like this too, like he knows everything. There's very few things on campus that I don't see, maybe because he is a very powerful psychic. There's a brief mention about her wanting to call in Homelander and him chuckling saying, "I'd love to see what would happen," implying that he also might be just as powerful as Homelander, but I actually think what he's really talking about is that Homelander doesn't care about Kate at all and wouldn't even take her phone call if she tried. Now we know the reason why he orders her to find Marie Moreau is because she is Project Odessa, basically his baby that he tried to create using this fertility clinic. Child of the Force, super powerful Compound V hero. Somehow Palpatine returned inside the boys' universe. Then we catch up with Marie, who's been on the run since she escaped from that prison. We see her at a Vought gas station. Vought is a major company with their hands in all lines of business, so they just have products everywhere in every business line that they sell. There's a bunch of firecracker-themed snacks. She gets a Queen Maeve one instead. She gets help by somebody named Daniel setting up that storyline with the Starlight supporters. Then there's a brief montage of her trying to find her sister Annabeth, which is like her big mission this season, aside from the Project Odessa stuff that Starlight turns her onto. We actually find that her sister has been alive and well and believed that she was actually responsible for their parents' death and hasn't wanted to speak to her, according to their mother's friend this whole time. So the idea is that her sister was born normally unlike her and has been fine this whole time.
Tell Annabeth.
We will probably eventually see them meet by the end of the season. Like, that's her other big thing, is trying to find her sister. So they'll probably pay that off eventually. She then winds up helping that friend Daniel that just helped her, who's part of the group of Starlighters being attacked by a bunch of Homelander supporters who she takes out with her bloodbending powers. And all of her other friends back at school learn where she is because the video of this circulates all over social media. There's a couple jokes here with the Dognot character who goes after her as a bounty hunter. Like, Homelander puts Dognot to find her, and he's meant to be a parody of Dog, the bounty hunter. Like Dog, but make it real. He has dog-based powers. This is also why it seems like he gets all horny for the dog. Also, he has dog telepathy, like he can speak to dogs telepathically. There's a bunch of jokes about the frat house on campus that was also founded by Thomas Godolkin that apparently the Deep was president of for 7 years. That's the other joke, because the Deep is meant to be so dumb. He was at school for 7 years. It took him that long to graduate. You also notice their Greek letters also spell out T. Sam then meets up with Emma again and reveals he doesn't remember anything from season 1 because Kate took all the memories out of his mind. They actually did that during season 1, so they're kind of just reminding you that Kate did that for him, and she's been doing it continually for him because he keeps remembering things. Dognot has a brief fight with Marie at her motel, almost has her dead to rights until she's saved by Starlight, who explains Project Odessa and what the boys are doing. Like, that's the group that she can't tell her about. Like, no, I can't tell you who you're helping out. It's meant to be all the boys' characters. Emma and Jordan then find Marie. Kate followed them, and the big WTF moment here is that they essentially let her bleed out, thinking that they're letting her die. Like, what if we just stood here and didn't do anything to help her? Of course she winds up surviving, and they use this as more drama between the characters in the rest of the season. Like I said, I think eventually Kate will make nice with the others, and they'll work together against Dean Cipher. He's meant to be the real antagonist that they're setting up behind pulling all the strings here, because he was behind everything, even the creation of Marie Moreau in the first place. The episode 2 title was Justice Never Forgets, a reference to the Rememberer that Emma winds up running into later, who she's a huge fan of, that leads them to information about Project Odessa. Justice Never Forgets was a phrase that he said on his TV show. All the kids have to do these obligatory pro-Vought social media posts like the others did in previous episodes. Cipher then has his first meeting with Marie. I already kind of explained the relationship there, how he was basically behind her creation, but he hasn't let on to that yet. She doesn't realize till later after they get the files. Part of the idea, though, is that he's trying to let her know that he knows everything that's going on, including all the stuff that's really going on behind the scenes, and that they're behind Kate's injury, and that what they're planning right now, so they better just toe the company line, or it's going to be real bad for them. Basically, that he has every angle covered, and there's nothing they can do to stop whatever he's doing. But that's the question, is what is his grand goal? It kind of seems like it's Homelander's goal, basically marshaling a powerful force of superheroes and turning them loose on the world. Big takeover, superheroes versus humans. There's a brief cameo from Firecracker on her show calling Kate's fight a hate crime that they pin on the Starlight's supporters, who Dognot winds up using as an excuse to kill. This is actually pretty standard Homelander behavior, like just do whatever you want to do and find an excuse for it. There's a couple really cool uses of Kate's superpowers here too, where you actually see what she's capable of. She speaks through the nurses and lets Sam know that Emma and the others were behind her attack, and then uses her powers to cause the rest of the staff to kill each other and just completely trashes the room.
They left me to die. How could they?
What?
Later they explain, though, that because of her head wound, she actually can't use her powers for a while. I think that's mostly a reason to delay her actual revenge against Emma and the others for what they did to her, and by that time, she will have slowly made up with them. You notice when Polarity takes the job as the new marketing teacher, it seems like Cipher already knows why he's taken the job and that he's trying to find something out about him, like, oh, I'm so sorry about your son, right after he taps his brain. There are a couple big references that he also drops too. He says that previous teachers that he's replacing were terrible. One was selling Vought crypto coin, and the Nexium bit is actually an Allison Mack reference, Chloe from Smallville, who was in the news for a very long time for that. She's since been released from prison, but the other Smallville actors like Michael Rosenbaum, Tom Welling have spoken a lot about her since then. Emma attends what seems like the weirdest social media influencer class ever. The joke here is that the teacher is part of this trad wife movement. She calls it trad soup, and just a lot of generic rhetoric that you hear on social media right now. Part of the idea is that they're teaching them how to use social media to build large followings, starting by using Kate's attack reaction videos. Remember, Vought is a giant media corporation, so all they really care about is superheroes monetizing their behavior, creating big social media followings. Dean Cipher then brings them to their version of the X-Men's Danger Room, more X-Men Professor X references here, where he calls it the Hero Optimization Center, teaching them how to use their powers in more sophisticated ways, making them more powerful, basically. There's a brief mention of the school rankings being super important, mostly for what happens later this season. Their first test is to make it past Victor to press the red button, whose hammer and the fact that he was in Valhalla 3, Lust and Lightning, a Thor Love and Thunder reference, means he's basically a Thor parody. Also, the fact they reference it got a terrible Rotten Tomatoes score is a joke about fans hating Thor Love and Thunder. They slowly start to get better at using their powers and fighting him throughout the actual fight and working together until they eventually beat him. And we get a couple of these types of Danger Room scenes with different types of fights where they slowly get better with their powers. Emma and Polarity go to the Vought archives and meet the Rememberer to learn more information about Thomas Godolkin, the whole idea being that he is kind of like the archive, like he can remember everything, that's his superpower. But there are actual physical documents in an actual archive and the secret Nazi paraphernalia room. Love the whole joke here about him loving the attention and that Emma was such a huge fan of his growing up. They cut it with that brief cameo scene of the Deep, who's come back to the fraternity again for their hazing ritual, claiming Thomas Godolkin started their fraternity. Sam also asks him about Homelander because he just did his summer internship. That was what we saw with the crossover with The Boys Season 4 in the finale with him and Kate. With the Deep joking that Homelander doesn't really care about anything that he's talking about, like, what? He doesn't even know your name, like he doesn't care about you at all. But inside the secret room, they find Vought's secret Nazi archives, a bunch of Ku Klux Klan paraphernalia, Polarity using his powers to open the door, and Emma then finds the Project Odessa files, which are tying it to the real-life Nazi Project Odessa from World War II in the Vought version with the serum on the show in the creation of Marie Moreau. Basically, it's seeming like Vought was trying to find a way to create naturally born superheroes, the X gene, basically, to make more X-Men references. Episode 3 is titled H is for Human, a reference to the human subplot at the school this year, basically them being the new underclass, persecuted by all the supers. This is the same barista who Emma just helped, who's a big character in the episode, where they find out about the Starlight supporters on campus that Emma then tries to turn into a much bigger organization.
What we should be doing is sabotage.
One of the things you also notice here too during a lot of her early scenes is that any direction she looks, there's Homelander's face on a poster staring at her. There's a couple moments where they start to try and figure out what Starlight really wanted Marie to do. So her whole thing is that she wanted Marie to stop Project Odessa. So if Marie is Project Odessa, I think what they're teasing, along with the reason why Cipher's so interested in her in optimizing her powers, is because the way her powers work technically would make her more of a threat than Homelander and the most powerful superhero on the planet, but she doesn't understand how her powers work yet, and Cipher seems like he's trying to slowly twist her evil over the season into his Palpatine to Darth Vader reference, like he wants Marie Moreau to turn from Anakin Skywalker into Darth Vader. Maybe Starlight already knows this and essentially wants them to stop Marie from turning evil. Part of the reason why you see Cipher then trying to teach Marie how to use her powers without having to cut herself, making it seem like he's helping her, is him slowly twisting her around his finger, like she'll eventually start to like what she's doing and slowly become darker. All the different kids are in danger of becoming darker because of what Cipher's doing. Sam then starts to go crazy again, hallucinating puppets like he did during Season 1 with the whole Avenue V, which is meant to be Avenue Q reference in like Mr. Rogers. Couple funny moments here too during this. The sandwich mentions all of his missions rounding up people Homelander told him to get during his summer internship. Like I said, more Boys Season 4 crossover. When they start putting new posters up all over the place, they also mention that there are Homelander posters designed so that Jesus will show up over his shoulder if you look at them at the right angle. Kinda sounds like something that Homelander would have them do. They revealed that Jordan is the new #1 ranking hero at school. Cipher, like I said, made it sound like a really big deal that you be really high in the rankings. So I think the idea is they're eventually teasing that he's going to pit Marie against Jordan, and they just started this relationship. There's a brief moment where Kate tries to go over Cipher's head to tell Homelander the truth about what happened to her, and what he says is not totally wrong. Like, you don't want to do this because Homelander will think you're weak and basically get rid of you if you can't use your powers. Just remember the way he turned on Firecracker during The Boys Season 4 when she started getting sicker. When she's leaving the dean's house, she also sees Cipher has a special vault inside. We will probably see what's inside later this season. You can let me know, like, what is inside his secret vault. Maybe it's just his quiet room, which blocks everyone else's thoughts if he really is a super powerful telepath. There's a real quick fight between Sam and Jordan as they bond with each other. He punches him so hard that he switches genders, and they pay off more jokes about the dude that loves the butt stuff. Like, there's a lot of butt stuff jokes the first couple episodes. Marie then goes to see her mother's friend, learns the truth about her conception, the Vought clinic, and Cipher, who is Dr. Gold. Like I said, just making it sound like he is connected to Thomas Godolkin if he is not just another form of Thomas Godolkin himself. Emma then finds the Mimic, who's a parody of Mystique in the X-Men comics, who's much better at using her powers than she does, and learns about the underground Starlight supporters on campus. There's a brief storyline they set up with Sam going back to see his family at their family home, who he says is afraid of him and is why he has not been home since then. There's a couple little jokes in the background here too that actually felt kind of relevant. Emma has a joke about her Little Cricket YouTube channel being demonetized. You're always worried about stuff like this if you're posting stuff on social media platforms in general, not just YouTube, but like every social media platform, which is actually meant to be a larger joke that The Boys is making about how sanitized and Disneyfied YouTube and other big social media platforms have become the last several years. Part of the reason why YouTube specifically has done this, like the whole yellow icon drama, like all the demonetization drama that YouTube has had the last several years, is because of pressure from the government in heavy regulation around the world in different countries. If you've actually been watching my channel for several years, I've actually run afoul of some of these policies a couple times over the years, particularly with Boys episode videos, because it's such a gory R-rated series. Really hard to do good videos for The Boys without them being demonetized. There's a brief celebration for Thomas Godolkin's founding of the school as a holiday on campus. This is 60th anniversary this time. Jordan telling Marie that he loves her, like I said, probably just leading to Cipher forcing them to fight for dominance in the rankings in future episodes. When she starts to reveal the truth about Vought and speak against them during her speech, and you see Cipher look off camera and walk away, it seems like he's getting some kind of alert, or if he is a psychic, he's realizing something, like some important thing that he has to walk off and address. We will probably learn more about his powers in the next couple of episodes. There are probably going to be a couple other big crossovers the next few episodes. We'll see who shows up beyond just the normal boys characters you would expect to cross over on Gen V. But everyone, post all your reactions and your theories in the comments below. My full episode 4 video will post next week after they release it. There's so much stuff happening because Marvel Zombies will also be releasing next year, so the schedule will be kind of wonky like it is this week with when all the episodes are dropping. Make sure you enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss any of those. Everybody click here for my brand new Alien Earth episode, and click here for all my Gen V and Boys Season 5 episodes. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.